Hello everyone. Chapter 5. Ultimate Predator. The ultimate predator is time. Laura sat comfortably in her leather chair, cradling her coffee. A wisp of steam rose from between her hands. "Let's get on to business," she said. She blew on her coffee a little and took a few sips. Meanwhile, Rachel looked around the room. She expected Laura to play the creative director of the group, the big thinker. First comes the big idea, she thought. Predictable but necessary. There was also James, the designer. He might talk about practical matters. And then there was Jane, the pathologist. She might talk about outstanding problems. And finally, there's herself. Well, what will I talk about? Ouroboros exists to address a problem, said Laura. And that problem is our lifespan. It's pretty short. In search for a remedy, we discovered potential that really got us thinking. So first, how's our lifespan looking in the scheme of things? Let's put ourselves into some cosmic context. One day, the sun will consume the Earth. It's true. Oh, but we won't be there to see it, you might think. It's some 7 billion years into the future. But wait. Imagine surviving for all that time. Imagine being there, witnessing the last day. Question. What would we look like? What would the Earth look like? And pretend we don't destroy the Earth by accident, Laura chuckled. We might find it impossible to imagine a life so long. And so I ask you another question. How long can you imagine? A human might live for 100 years as a humble Homo sapiens, the standard human. But what if we were re-engineered humans to live for longer, perhaps for 1,000 years? Is that imaginable? We can look back at 1,000 years in history and relate to those people quite easily. The technology was different, but the people not so much. So how about 10,000 years? We might agree that that is harder to imagine. So perhaps we should start by aiming at 1,000 years of life and see how we feel once we get there. If we play this like a game, then what is the goal? To cheat death. To cheat death until we're bored, said Laura. She stopped to take a sip of coffee. She continued, Imagine death as a choice, not as a destiny. And so to that end, we created Homo Semper, Semper Fortis, Semper Sapiens. Laura sat back and took another sip of her coffee. For now, she looked done talking. Rachel turned her head this way and that, looking at Laura, James, and Jane in turn, and said finally, Latin? Well, I don't use that often, but that would mean something like an everlasting human to start with, and the next part is a motto. Always strong, always wise. There was a pause. Not bad, said Jane, swallowing. Homo sapiens is wise, and we're adding health on top of that with Homo Semper. It has a certain permanence, don't you think? But not too much. Homo Semper was the least mouthful we could think of. Certainly less than that tasty donut. Oh, Jane shrugged. All right, my turn. As the pathologist of the three, Rachel guessed Jane's line of attack. Homo sapiens is an organic machine full of bugs, said Jane. Natural humans die because of coding errors. That natural code, genetic code, has been good enough to keep the species going, but to the cost of the individual, which sucks. For centuries now, millennia even, people have raged against the dying of the light, that final depressing encroachment of death, and of their dreams and families being snatched away from them. It really sucks, said James. An ancient problem, Jane nodded. Speaking of which, James said, there's a legend of time as an immortal dragon that terrorizes the cosmos. It's just a story, obviously, but the dragon metaphor is a good one. Dragons are mythical predators, and they love to eat tasty humans. Time, said Jane, is the ultimate predator. It kills everything, destroys everything, even hope. It's the most powerful dragon ever. You can't kill time, said James menacingly. Only run from it for a while. You can run, Jane began, but with your final throw of the dice... She cast air dice with a flourish. Time always catches you, said James, swiping his hand. Rachel shivered. We all think that sucks, said Jane. Not just James. Think of life as a game we play against that dragon, said Laura. There's one rule. Don't die. Aside from that, anything goes. Right, said James. And you know how I love to exploit the rules. It feels like cheating. He paused. Okay, so technically, exploiting what nature gave us isn't cheating, but you get my drift. We can do some things that feel like cheating. Turns out plenty of people think the same way, said Jane, and that we should starve the dragon for as long as we can. Fortunately, we've made progress. Lots of progress, said James. If we master the art of coding in DNA, said Jane, we can debug human beings. We can eliminate cancer, heart disease, and so on, viewing age itself as a disease to be treated. We may even cure it. Rachel nodded. Even Homo sapiens-style people can live a long time with the right know-how, she said. Today, with a multitude of gene editing techniques to rewrite errors in the living person, said Jane, we can fix people like never before. More, we have the ability to redesign humans from the beginning, said James. We can fork the natural code base and forge our own versions, make humans that are enhanced, learn from nature and steal her ideas, perhaps even discover entirely novel mutations, James grinned. As Laura said, we call ourselves Homo Semper, said Jane. Homo Semper, echoed Rachel, the everlasting person. Now it was James's turn to sit forward. The name is quite an arrogant one, really, he mused. We're not going to last forever, probably, but we've gotten our designs to the point where, in theory, we could last a really long time. Hence we've come up with a nickname, the Ageless. I mean, really, they're basically elves, he laughed. Humans are becoming like the elves, living for ages and perhaps only dying through disease or violence. And even then, with systems like cloning and soul backups, we might have workarounds for those too. The only question is it still you when you use a backup? Anyway, that's more of a philosophical problem, and I can't do much about that, James grinned. What's this about a soul backup? Rachel asked. Is that the same as the mind link taking my memories, or something more? Oh, the mind link doesn't just take your memories, said James. It's also taking an imprint of your psyche, the various phantoms within your personality, so that your mind can be properly reconstructed when it's imprinted onto a fresh brain. There are some subtleties, Rachel stated rhetorically. It's that, or you won't come back the same, said James. I suppose so, shrugged Rachel. I mean, you're the experts. I've begun to think that a person is their story, said Laura. Isn't a person just their story? They have this particular nature and they do particular things, and that's all recorded in memory, and that's what a story is. The boss takes this on faith, said James. It's beyond me. I'm inclined to agree with the boss too, said Jane. Laura's idea does make a strange kind of sense. I'm romantic enough to roll with it, and so does James when he cares to admit it. Rachel smiled. He is. My only concern, said James, is that it feels a certain way to be a person when you're on the inside. We reduce strangers to stories all the time, like in the legends of heroes, but when somebody is familiar to us, I worry we chop something off in the process. That's enough of that, James, said Laura. At Ouroboros, we pride ourselves in venturing into the darkness to confront the monsters of doubt, and so far, we've always managed to win. That we do, James smirked, and not entirely happy about it. He adjusted himself on the couch, cracking the bones in his spine. James sat forward to look at Rachel in the eyes. We replicate you as faithfully as possible and hope for the best, he said. I suppose that will have to do, said Rachel, really uncomfortably. That's what our other clients say, grinned Jane naughtily. And trust me when I say that they're paying us a lot of money for their immortality. Apart from anything, and don't take this the wrong way, we're using you to improve our reincarnation technology. A client dies, they get respawned. They pay for soul backups and a few clones and a storage facility. You're the prototype and the cutting edge. Jane shrugged, adding, We hope it's all working, but as James said, how do we really know it's you? After all, only the universe knows for sure. If it's any consolation, you always feel like the same person, so I guess you are. Okay, said Rachel. So what is it you want me to do this time? Laura put her coffee down, cleared her throat, and began to speak.